It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by Ray White, the largest real estate and property group in Australasia.
And welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by Ray White. We are talking to Ben Faulks. G'day, Ben.
Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad. Welcome into the Real Estate Podcast. How long have you been in the real estate game?
I'm just over a decade now. We've sort of built a business that's over 100 people. No, it's been a very interesting and rewarding journey.
There's a lot that you would have seen, a lot that you would have learned, and probably keep on learning, as far as real estate, because it's always changing, it's always evolving.
Yeah, look, absolutely. There's always more to learn and ways that we can improve our service offering for our clients, absolutely.
Now, talking of the client, the vendor in this case, what do you think are some of the key attributes that a vendor should look for when they start to think about selling their home from the type of agent that they want to represent them?
There's obviously a number of things to consider, but from my perspective, there's two key attributes that the vendor wants to be looking at from the beginning. The first is how passionate or how enthusiastic is the agent that you're talking to. It's very hard to sell something that you don't believe in. And as long as you need your agent to be on your side and passionate about the product. So I think that's the first one. And then the second one is, has the agent thought about who is the ideal buyer for your home? Because this is going to drive their marketing strategy and their campaign. And if they have some concept of the ideal buyer, what are their proposed avenues to reach them? I think that's the place that the vendor should start.
You talk about passion, about somebody having that passion. They need to be authentic with the passion, don't they? Because somebody can come in and say, oh yeah, look, we'd love to represent you with this, that, and the other thing. They can project a passion, but it's not authentic. They're not genuinely passionate. And that's the trick, I think, is to really find that switch where you can identify somebody's true passion, true authenticity. Then that'll sort of align and match up with what you're looking for.
Look, I think absolutely. People can see through it if the agent isn't authentic and genuine. And from a vendor's perspective, that's the way the agent's going to engage with your prospective buyer as well. So no, I totally agree there. It's got to be genuine. It's got to be authentic. And that creates that alignment with the vendor from the beginning.
And then once you sort of find that passion, you've got to then go into that whole selection process, selecting the agent. How do you do that? How do you find the right agent to then select?
Look, it can be tricky because agents aren't necessarily great at differentiating themselves. But if they've got that genuine passion and enthusiasm and they've got a clear marketing strategy, I think the next step is really rapport. This is going to be quite an intimate relationship that you're going to have with the agent for the next probably 3 to 4 months, one way or the other. And you don't have to love the agent, but you do have to be able to work with them. It's got to be a partnership and you need to feel like a team. So I think that's the next step.
Yeah, so when you actually meet somebody, for the very first time, what do you think some of the indicators are? Like you talk about passion, and obviously it's got to be authentic. You've got to have that rapport. Is there anything else in that first up meeting, do you think, that the vendor should be looking for?
You need that connection, and you need to know that your agent can build that connection with buyers, but you also need the confidence that they're able to sell. And so I do think there's a couple of key questions that vendors could be asking their agents, just to help determine, when push comes to shove and you're at the pointy end of a negotiation, that you've got the right person on your side.
And what else? Is there anything else that you can throw into the mix here, Ben? Because it's such a big decision, isn't it? Somebody decides to list their property. It's the biggest investment for somebody to make. They're handing that off to somebody. Is there anything else that we should be considering as a vendor before we commit to that person that we're going to decide to run with, essentially with our biggest investment?
Look, I think you ultimately want to be testing, is this agent going to be on the buyer's side or are they going to be on your side as the seller? And once you get a sense of that, that's when you should have that real confidence to put pen to paper and move forward.
Hey, Ben, thank you for coming on to the Real Estate Podcast.
Great. Thanks for having me, Craig.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.